to another episode of the Tip Balls Podcast. I'm your host, Sam Randazzo. I am joined by my two rather grisly co-hosts. To my right, it is the one and only. It is Uncle Sam.
Hello.
To my left, it is none other than our very own Mr. Zolo, Mike Zolo.
We have power here now. The desks are powered. We can plug our stuff into the desks.
We can.
We have power now.
We're really moving up in the world right now. We can plug stuff in on the desk. That's just changed the game. Literally changed the game. Bruce, how are you back there today, bud?
Fantastic.
Extra pink and extra gooey, as always.
I don't see him.
It is Bruce, the tugboat Venditti. Bruce. Hey,
Put that back on.
for the record, Bruce.
What the fuck? The Birdman of Alcatraz.
For the record,
Birdman?
Bruce, people want to see you when you talk.
Well, I don't care.
Well, you should, because you're.
Listen, I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do back here. I'm
You're
gonna do
just
my
as
thing.
important to this.
But we have had a lot of feedback on the moving of the microphones when we're talking,
yeah.
because you go in and out of, when you're back here, they can't hear you, and when you're up here, you get really loud.
Well,
let's try to
that
keep
seems
the
like a
microphone-
production
do me a
issue,
favor,
Bruce.
roll
Let-
your
let-
fucking chair back.
Let's
That
let's
seems
get
like a
let's
production
get
issue,
let's
Bruce.
leave the mics. where they
Anyways,
are.
Uncle Sam, it has been exactly 7 days since the last time we were here. How have you been?
Great,
How was your week?
great.
What is going on?
Nothing,
What is new?
nothing.
Did you have a nice weekend?
Yes,
Any highlights?
no.
Any low points?
So we did a birthday for Diana. It was her birthday. So
Oh, very nice.
got
Happy
that
birthday,
out of the
Diana.
way.
Happy birthday, Diana.
Happy birthday, Uncle Tony,
And
too.
then,
Oh, yeah.
my brother's birthday was
Oh, yeah.
Saturday.
Yeah, shout
Saturday was Tony's.
out. Lots of birthdays.
Yeah,
Shout out to everybody. Zolo, it has been
and
exactly.
Rigo's.
When's Rigo's birthday?
Tony and Rigo's the same day.
Really?
Saturday.
Hey,
So
Rigo, if you could see this,
Yeah.
feliz cumpleaños, my boy.
So
That's it.
is Rigo on the bus yet or no?
I think so.
Wow.
He's supposed to leave the 3rd. I don't know.
Inbound Rigo.
It's today.
That's
He's
today.
inbound.
Inbound. Zolo, it has been exactly 7 days since the last time we were here. How are you?
It's a loaded question.
But
But I'm alive and I'm good.
high
I'm
points.
starving right now.
Are
I'm
you?
craving Taco Bell.
Wow.
I'd consider Burger King as well. I've had a bad day, and usually I reward myself for bad days with fast food.
2-1.
That's the way it should be.
I always pivot to fast food in those situations.
Yeah. Nothing more comforting than a triple whopper with cheese.
What the hell
Yeah,
could we
so it's triple whopper with
possibly-
bacon. I love the fries too. I think Burger King's got great fries.
Then Bruce,
Dude, what could we have possibly...
Jacqueline on TikTok.
Hold on. What
She
could
said her
we have
birthday's coming up.
possibly have said on this TikTok so far to get shut down already?
I don't know,
Shut down.
but God bless him.
It's live for me.
God bless him. Yeah.
They restricted us.
President
Why do they
Baker.
restrict us? Turn it off and go back on. Turn it off and go back on.
No, I'm appealing.
Yeah, appeal.
I don't know what we talked about.
President Baker's birthday is 14 days away. Zolo, high points, low points, pits, peaks over the last week.
I went bowling. When was the last time you went to Lakeshore Lanes?
Probably
The
a couple
other
years
day.
ago. Probably a couple.
The one, you're talking about the nice one, Bruce, right? With the TVs everywhere and the nice bar.
The new bar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I went to Docks as well. I went
Did
to
you?
Docks on Saturday. And then
How was your
Lakeshore
doc's
Lanes.
experience? I've heard a lot of mixed reviews.
Food wasn't bad.
Just your average.
Sarah
Siggler's
pulled a string to
chill?
get us in there. Yeah, that's what it'll ultimately be. I think
Shores
the service was it wasn't great. Like, it wasn't efficient, but it was still, there were 10 of us, and it was still good for there being 10 of us. And I'm looking at the servers, and I'm seeing them sweating in the back and put food together. So they're working. They're probably just understaffed. It's like any new restaurant. They're
Right.
understaffed, trying to get the kinks out. It wasn't bad. Like, I can envision myself watching a sporting event there. There's crazy TVs. The menu might be a little too big, but everything I had was good. Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
Not
And I went
bad.
to that Lakeshore Lanes, and I'm not a good bowler. I didn't break 100, but that place, they did a good job. There's big ass screens at the end of the lanes now, and you can watch.
Really?
I was watching the Wings. Carl almost got kicked out. It's a good place when Carl almost gets kicked out.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty status quo there.
Yeah.
I feel like you would be a good bowler.
No.
When's the last time you bowled?
It's been years.
You're not good? I feel like you'd be a pretty good bowler, dude.
I am not a great bowler.
Appeal
no.
not approved.
I'm
What?
average.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Isn't Michigan one of the biggest states for bowling?
Michigan was
It
the
used to be.
premier state for bowling in the 60s, 70s, and 80s.
Wait,
This
why?
is the bowling capital of the country. That's why there's bowling alleys everywhere.
Really?
Like
Everywhere. You haven't
it-
noticed
My
that?
boy
Like the
Danny
bowling-
and his brothers, R.I.P. Danny.
R.I.P. Dan.
My boys Bernie and Frank. These guys were like sharks. They bowled 300 games. They were
Really?
sharks.
I did not know Michigan was a
My buddy-
bowling capital.
My buddy Danny, he had bowled like 5 or 6 300 games. Man, he was really good.
Wow.
He was really good. All right,
Shout out to Danny. All right.
shout out to Danny A.
and his bowling skills.
That's it.
Bruce, how are you at bowling?
I'm not bad, but I'm not like crazy.
You break 100?
Yeah.
You know,
Service bowl. That's like a
I
night
mean,
out.
I
That's
can't
like
do, like,
golfing
the
on a bachelor
crazy-
party.
right.
You know, like the no finger in the hole, like the crazy swing where they twist the ball on the. They use the.
Oh, if there's
oil
one thing I know you can do, it's twist the
Oh,
balls.
whatever, dude.
Twist the balls.
Twist the
Eh.
balls.
Bruce could twist the balls.
Yes,
that's
he
for
can.
sure.
Yes, he
Give
can.
me the old ball twist.
You know one thing I've always wanted to try, but I haven't? Curling.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
feel like curling would be cool as
Okay,
shit.
so I know there's two right across the border. Like there's one in LaSalle, Ontario, and then I think there's one in Tecumseh, Ontario. But they're outdoors, so it's cold. Like there's an awning over them, so it's cold. There is a curling club in Birmingham. There's a curling club
That
on the
makes
west
sense.
side, but you could never get into it, and it's expensive. But I would go to Windsor to like if you told me like we're going to Windsor to curl tonight, I'd be like, bet.
Tip curling.
You
You want to go curl?
You think you
No.
can get down there?
Where? Oh yeah,
Yeah,
that's not a problem.
the sweepers.
I would be fantastic at the sweeper.
I'd be a good skip.
What is that? The person who slides?
The person who throws the stone.
Ah.
So here's something I didn't know. For someone that's been watching curling since the 2002 Salt Lake Olympics, here's something I didn't know about curling. I'm always like, what are they doing with the brooms? Like I know they're creating friction to make the rock, which I can't remember what the stones. It's got a name to make it go a certain way, right? But I'm like, what the hell are you doing? Did you know that they spray the courts? And there's little water beads, like there's frozen water beads, and that's what they're doing is they're trying to sweep quick enough to erode those to make the like it's a rough surface essentially.
So they're trying to make it go faster.
Yeah, it's rough.
You make it go faster, you make it go a certain direction, or you could slow it
I
down
did
as
not
well,
know that.
or you could slow it down.
It's
yeah.
stones, also known as rocks.
Just rocks.
Just rocks. It's just a
we
rock.
we got into this season 1 of Tim.
Yes, I know because I
Yeah,
wanted to
Olympics.
curl. I still want to curl. I just never.
You tell me when and where. You know what I used to love to do, and we may have done this with you before. I used to love to go to the Palazzo de Bocce. Have we been there with
I've
you?
been there one time.
Was that with me?
I believe it was.
If someone said we're going to play bocce ball, and I haven't foaled in a while, I would love to go foal.
Bowling is a great time.
I haven't been
Foaling
foaling
is
since
fun.
before the pandemic.
Yeah, it's been years since I've foaled. Foaling is a great time. Speaking of foaling, we should probably talk about some football because there's footballs in foaling, and this is a football podcast. So we have a little bit of news to break today. Well, the news already broke, but we need to discuss it because it's a pretty big deal. And then obviously we have a pretty big game coming up in a few days' time. There's been a lot of controversy right now. Roger Goodell's getting some heat. We need to talk about Justin Tucker. We got a lot to talk about today. So let's get into it. A little Lions coaching update, too, at some point today. But to start things off, one of the biggest names in the NFL, if not the biggest name on the defensive side of the ball, has requested a trade from the Cleveland Browns. That is no other than All-Pro edge rusher Myles Garrett. He released a statement today saying that he wanted out. Now, the Browns have already come back and said they have no plans to trade him, but we know how this goes. This one, for me, feels real because there's a lot of noise around the deadline about Myles Garrett possibly getting traded then.
Whenever they say they have no interest in trading him, they're interested in trading him.
Well, I just think they're going to come to a situation with him where he just won't fucking play. If they don't trade him, he ain't going to play. I think he has that. That's his mind. Couple excerpts from the statement he released. his main goal was to win Super Bowls. He loves the fan base. He loves Northeast Ohio, which is probably all bullshit.
He's also a part owner of the Cavs.
Yes.
So it's not.
He loves calling the city his home. His true desire is to win and compete on the biggest stage. And he feels that he's become complacent. The goal was never to go from Cleveland to Canton. It has always been to compete for and win a Super Bowl. And with that in mind, he's requested to be traded from the Browns. So obviously, the Cleveland Browns are in no position right now, being quarterbackless, talent depleted, and having a good amount of question marks to compete, I will say, in that division. Because I think you have Pittsburgh, who took it up a notch this year, Baltimore, who is pretty concrete, and Cincinnati, who had a down year and definitely needs to reload, but they don't need as much as Cleveland. Cleveland is pretty much in a rebuild at this point. So Myles Garrett wants no part of it. With that being said, what do you think it would cost to acquire Myles Garrett? Let's talk that off the rip. There are some people in the Twitterverse saying 3 first-rounders, which I think might be a little hefty at this point in his career. I know he's still in his prime, but that seems like it's a little bit of a haul. The other thing was a superstar, a first and a second. But again, I don't know which superstar would fit that mold to acquire Myles Garrett. Also, the 3 top teams right now for betting odds are Washington, Atlanta, and Detroit.
Let's get something out of the way on the Lions real quick. They will always be high on betting odds to land a guy via free agency or trade so long as they have cap space. So it's nice to know that we have cap space, but here's the problem. That cap space is going to be spent on Aiden Hutchinson, who's probably going to get the largest defensive contract in football this summer. It's going to be eventually spent on Brian Branch's extension next year and Kirby Joseph's inevitable extension. Then from there, you might sign Carlton Davis. You're going to try and sign Derek Barnes. They have a lot of money to spend in-house before they can go and make a decision like this. Now, that being said...
I don't agree with that.
Go ahead. Speak.
I don't agree with it.
What?
I think if you can get a guy this caliber, you pull the trigger.
Well, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
So he's got 2 years left on his deal, right?
Yep.
So long as he's not going to request more money, which there's a chance he's going to want to be paid accordingly.
He's like $18 million, gets the cap this year, $20 next year.
Yeah, but
they don't think they can.
I'm pulling up the contract right now.
But I believe it's a $35 million deal. The Browns are the ones that are going to eat the most shit. There's $36 million in dead cap because they've restructured his deal a few times.
Correct.
What it makes sense from a Lions standpoint. I mean, I don't think it's going to happen, and the cost is probably going to be high. But it makes sense from a Lions standpoint is if you get him for the 2 years that you have him, just for those 2 years, a lot of the extensions that we're talking about don't kick in until 2 years from now. So there's a window to make it work.
25, 26, and 27.
Okay.
19.7 million next year, 20.3 million in 26. And then that deferred money from Cleveland kicks in 2027, and it's $41 million.
Okay.
That's where it gets scary.
This is where he becomes a cap casualty, regardless.
Well,
I mean, do you really trade for him, or you just wait and watch him become a cap casualty?
No, they're not gonna cut him. They're not gonna get what we think. People want to hit home runs, right? The comp is Myles Garrett, right? Or excuse me, Khalil Mack is the comp. The comp is Khalil Mack. I think Khalil Mack was 27 at the time.
So he was 2 years younger.
And what was it? It was 3 firsts or 2 firsts?
It was 2 firsts.
A second.
I just had it in front of me.
And a sixth or something crazy.
It was 2 firsts, a third, and a sixth.
2 firsts, a third, and a sixth. So Myles Garrett, even though he's still at a high, he's producing at a high level, he's still very good, right? You're banking on him, 1, staying healthy, and number 2, not declining once he hits 30, which happens, right?
Correct.
So there is a little bit of risk that goes with it, but I think any team that needs edge rushing help, Yeah, like if you can get him, I don't think the price is going to be that high. I think it'll be
Fuck
at
that.
first.
You don't want him going to Washington. You don't want him going to the NFC.
I don't want him going to the NFC. Yeah,
Period.
I think the
Because
price.
this is what's going to wind up happening.
He goes to a rival and they end up
He's going to
killing
go to the
him.
fucking Eagles.
Yeah.
Howie Roseman will pull off some bullshit, and then the next thing you know, he's a fucking Eagle.
Well, they're going to be in the same position as the Lions. They're going to eventually have to sign Jordan Davis to his
You
extension
know what?
and sign.
They have it down
Kobe.
pat to where they can restructure people, and then the next thing you know, they're okay.
As of next, the Eagles only have 18 million in cap space, so they'd have to clear to get him in already.
Oh, I'm sure they could.
The other thing is I'm not sure about Eagles draft capital.
They have their first, but I mean, I don't know. I don't think it's Philly, but yeah, there's very much teams I don't want him to go to in the NFC. That would
The Atlanta
piss me off.
thing, for me, the Atlanta one makes the most sense.
They have the most cap space.
They have the most cap space. They have, realistically, if you can land a guy like him, the upside's stupid. Because that division is so weak that one move could be such a game changer.
Yeah.
The Atlanta one makes a ton of sense to me. When I look at the Khalil Mack comp,
But that was Khalil Mack that went from the Raiders to the Bears.
correct.
Khalil Mack. That was a long time ago.
He was 20. Realistically, it's close. It's close.
Yeah.
The 2 years, though, for me, remove that second first-round pick. I think it's going to be a first and a second, something along those lines.
And a player. And if I'm the Lions, I would do that.
I would do that.
This is the problem with the Lions, though. Your first doesn't have crazy value this year. I think it's pick 28.
Which
if I
would
remember
mean you got to
correctly.
give up both.
Yeah, I mean, first, probably a second and a player. I would do that. Like that's how you capitalize on this window. And you have to, like, Howie Roseman hits home runs, right? And who's the guy in Kansas City? Veach. Brett Veach hits home runs. Like, you have to. John Lynch was hitting home runs there to take the Niners to 2 Super Bowls. You got to hit home runs when your team is close. Like, you got to make that play to push them over the edge. And on top of that, Uncle Sam will agree with me on this one. It doesn't matter what's behind your front four if you have a good front four. Like, if you have Aiden Hutchinson and Myles Garrett, like, doesn't matter what plays behind them. That's how the 2014 Lions were. Like, that's why Darius Slay looked as good as he did his rookie year. It's because their front four that year was the best the Lions have ever had. You know, and I think if you stack defensive line, it could go a long way.
That could help your secondary. Could help everybody.
Helps your secondary. Helps your linebackers.
Yeah.
It makes a quarterback make bad decisions.
Actually, helps them in the draft. Helps them in this draft coming up. Then you don't have to worry about drafting a fucking pass rusher. You can draft best player available.
I'll say
that
this
would
much.
fucking help you.
I'll say this much. There are a ton of good pass rushers, depth pass rushers, and a ton of good. If they need an interior D lineman, which they probably do in this draft,
Correct.
they can get those guys. Those guys are in this draft. Like, they can get a day one difference maker in this draft at pass rusher, but it's not going to be Myles Garrett. It's not going to be Trey Hendrickson. It's not going to be what's his face.
The other
Max
thing
Crosby.
the other idea that has seemed to come up quite a bit is that if Myles Garrett could go anywhere, he would want to go to Dallas. That's his hometown
Where he's
team.
from.
And that
Micah Parsons would have to move.
Dallas would be willing to trade Micah Parsons
Oh, in the deal?
in the deal. But see, then you're sending Micah Parsons to purgatory in Cleveland.
Yeah. Micah Parsons gets a say in that.
Yeah.
Micah Parsons gets a say in that.
See, that would be the big glaring issue there is who wants to go to Cleveland? Who is going to be like, yeah, sure, I'll take the Browns.
I don't know about that. I'm sure. Listen, they're going to go where the money's at. They'll go where the money's at.
I don't know.
That's the bottom line on it. I mean, sometimes a change of scenery is good for people. Yeah.
The other team that's popped up quite a bit today, 2 more that have popped up, are the Bills and the 49ers.
Okay.
They can't afford it.
The 49ers, there's just
Neither one of those guys can afford it. They're capped.
yeah, and the Bills are going to be in somewhat of a cap hell next year.
There's also a scenario where nothing happens here, and we've talked about this for 2 years on
You
this
know what?
podcast.
I don't know about that. When you start hearing that players start demanding trades and he was on the trading block back last year, right before the trade deadline. They were taking calls on him then. So if they're looking to move him, which it sounds like they are, listen, if they can get a 1 and a 2 or a couple of 1s and a player, they're looking to do it, dude. They have to do something there.
In Cleveland?
The Watson contract's got him fucking hampered. They got to get rid of that. It's either his progression just didn't go anywhere. Now he's supposed to miss all this year coming. Okay, what are they going to run with Jameis Winston?
I mean, you're.
No.
I don't know.
Well,
The Browns have pick 1 or pick 2.
I believe they have
Oh,
two.
they have
They're
2.
picking
So it's
two.
Tennessee,
Yeah.
Cleveland. No, their quarterback is very much in play for the Browns. The best player available is in play for the Browns. There's a scenario where Titans, Browns go quarterback 1-2. There's a very
I
real
think
scenario.
it's possible. I think it's possible.
The Browns for sure. Like the Browns I can see it happening.
Let me be honest with you. I don't think the Titans are going to take fucking quarterback.
Travis Hunter.
I really don't think they're taking
Are they
quarterback.
going to take
Yeah.
Travis Hunter?
God.
Yeah.
If they,
I think they either going to take Travis Hunter
or trade out.
or they're going to trade back, and maybe the Giants move up, try to get one of the quarterbacks, or somebody else, the Jets.
Isaiah
I mean, we don't
Hilgast,
know.
by the way, says trades Zadarius and some picks for him. I don't think there's tradesies backsies.
You're not going to get anything for a
I don't think you do
36-year-old
that.
pass.
And I think Zadarius is going to get cut.
Yeah, a 36-year-old pass rusher. They
I think
can't.
they're going to cut him unless
Yeah,
they can
they
get him on a
can't do it.
bargain.
With the quarterback situation, I see a situation where Tennessee trades back to 3
Yeah.
with the Giants because Shadur Sanders has made it known that that's where he's going,
Where?
to the Giants.
To the Giants.
To the Giants.
Yeah, and that's a good spot for him too. By
That
the way,
is. It's the best. That's the best case.
unless the Giants could manage a good quarterback in free agency or no,
Not only
Their
that,
fans are probably
I
done
mean,
with
to be
that.
honest with you, the Titans, that's the best case scenario for them. Because I really don't think they need quarterback.
What do you think best case scenario is for the Titans?
I think
Travis
the best
Hunter.
case scenario is that they want the Giants to move up and take the quarterback, and then they trade back and they still get the best player in the draft.
Who's playing quarterback for the Tennessee Titans?
So
Doesn't
hold
matter-
on.
Doesn't matter if it's Will Levis or fucking Mason Rudolph. You can get by with those guys for another year till you get an actual. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think that Cam Ward or Shadur Sanders is
I got another name
that
for you
fucking
though.
good.
I got a fast emerging name
ahead.
that was on a lot of people's radars preseason, and
Yeah.
he's been on a lot of draft analysts' radars during the season, and he was considered the best offensive player this weekend at the Senior Bowl. It's Jackson Dart from Ole Miss, who's got a
Yeah,
top
he was-
15 grade on him at the moment.
My man.
So
was
someone could take a
ripping it.
flyer on
I
him.
don't know if you watched it, but he was ripping it.
No, he's been good at Ole Miss.
Yeah.
So there's a chance that someone takes a flyer on him all of a sudden. Like I could see one of those teams in the top 10 that need a quarterback, or a team. What about a team like 10 to 15 that needs a quarterback? Can you think of any off the top of your head?
Raiders.
Miami.
Raiders would be a good one. Miami, maybe. I still
The
think they're in Tua territory.
Colts.
Maybe too soon.
The Colts. I mean, Seattle. They're
Seattle.
18, so that's
That's
a little bit.
that's a good one.
They're a little bit off the mark. there.
Seattle would be
How
a
about
great
Pittsburgh?
spot for Jackson.
Or-
Pittsburgh, great spot for Jackson Dart.
Oh,
Great spot for Jackson Dart.
Pittsburgh's 21. What about the Jets at 7?
Great spot for Jackson Dart.
I mean, that's an interesting one. I've seen and I'm looking at a mock draft right now, and this is the
Do the whole fucking mock draft.
this is
Do
the
whole
third
thing.
one I've seen that has Abdul Carter going 2 to Cleveland.
Yeah, Abdul Carter's is considered the best player in the draft. I don't think he's better than Travis Hunter, but someone will be happy with Abdul Carter. Like he's very good.
Pass rushers and stuff like that will go before corner.
Yeah, 100%. But
I know, but Travis Hunter's more than you can put him at a lot of positions, and even still, he's one of the better corners of the last.
Yeah.
But I know what you're saying, there's a very real scenario where Abdul Carter goes number 1. Very
Yeah.
real. It just depends who picks there.
and
He is the best. You could make the case for him as the best player in the draft.
Yeah.
I'm just taking Travis Hunter over here.
I also think that there's a scenario where the Giants end up with Shadur at 3 without having to trade. Because I truly, in my heart of hearts, think you're going to have if Tennessee.
Listen, if one of these other teams move up and try to get with fucking Tennessee to get that pick, they're going to have to make a move.
This is my thing, though, with the Shedeur Sanders
Yeah.
situation. I think you're going to have an Eli Manning situation on your hand. I think if it's not, hypothetically, Dallas, the Raiders, or the Giants that take him, if it's Tennessee or Cleveland that take him, he's not going to go. He's not going to go.
Possible. I don't see that, but it's possible.
What do you think on that?
You think Shedeur could or I'm sorry, you think Travis Hunter or Shedeur? You think Shedeur could slide? Is that what you said?
No, I'm saying hypothetically, if Tennessee takes Shedeur at 1,
Got it.
he's not playing.
They'd have to go get someone to groom him with. Like, they'd have to take a flyer on like
Well,
Kirk
no,
Cousins. Or
I don't.
someone.
I think Shedeur and the way that Deion Sanders has him thinking, I think it will be an Eli Manning situation.
Oh, you think he won't show up?
Correct.
I don't see that anymore.
If it's
I don't think
Cleveland
that
or
would ever
Tennessee,
happen
dude,
again.
if it's Cleveland or Tennessee,
I think I can see. I know what you're saying with Cleveland, and I can see that.
yeah,
I disagree on Tennessee. I think he'd play for the Titans.
you think so?
I do. Yeah, I do.
There's
There's enough there to work with. It's a good market. They're getting a new building. There's good fans. He's from not far from there. He played not far from there, and when he was at where'd they play before Colorado?
Jackson State.
Jackson State in Mississippi. They're not far from there. No, I think Shedeur will play for anyone but the Browns. But I think they're doing the Caleb Williams last year. They're doing enough leveraging right now and talking that he's gonna end up with the Giants. He's gonna play for the Giants.
How do we feel about Matt Miller, ESPN analyst?
Start reading his mocks and then we'll talk.
He has Abdul Carter going 1 to Tennessee.
Keep going.
Travis Hunter going 2 to Cleveland.
Okay. Shedeur 3 to Giants.
Cam Ward 3 to the Giants.
Okay. 4,
Mason Graham going to New England.
5.
Will Johnson going 5.
That's Jacksonville.
Yep.
6.
Shedeur to the Raiders.
Oh, I would love that. Pete Carroll and Shedeur. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? And they just brought in Greg Olson, his old quarterbacks coach, who like raised Russell Wilson. And who'd they bring? Who's the OC? Didn't they just grab someone good at offense? The Raiders.
Yeah.
It's someone decent. Oh, Chip Kelly. They got Chip Kelly, who would also be very good for sure. What Chip Kelly did with Will Howard at Ohio State this year was incredible. Right, and then everything he did at USC or UCLA was a little tough. Like he had a good time with Dorian Thompson-Robinson, but everything he did at Oregon at quarterback was excellent. Everything Chip Kelly did was excellent. And then you go back to Michael Vick, and like Chip Kelly did some good stuff with quarterbacks. So I think there's a real scenario where the Raiders' offense with the right quarterback could be serviceable next year.
Are you you like Daniel Jeremiah, correct?
I like DJ.
Don't worry about the date. I want a good post-Senior Bowl mock draft.
Okay,
right now.
then
Do the whole thing, and then let me guess
we'll
the
go
player
to
in the team.
today.
Okay.
Today, Lance Zierlein,
He's NFL.com.
NFL.com. Number 1, he has Cam Ward going to Tennessee.
Good fit.
Then he has Abdul Carter going 2 to Cleveland.
3 is Shedeur to the Giants.
And you want to know what's funny? When you think about their willingness to trade Myles Garrett, the Abdul Carter thing starts to make a little bit of sense, doesn't it?
Yeah, but uniting Garrett and Carter is also,
My God, dominant.
you know,
Number 3, Travis Hunter to the Giants.
Travis Hunter to the Giants.
Yes, but then you have a situation where who is playing quarterback for the New York Giants? Tommy DeVito. You get another year of Tommy DeVito.
4.
Will Campbell.
Do the whole
Patriots.
mock. I want the whole mock.
Okay. Will Campbell going 4 to the New England.
Will Campbell is
Offensive
the office,
tackle
the
at
LSU. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Will Johnson going 5 to Jacksonville. That seems pretty unanimous. Shedeur going 6 to the Raiders.
Oh, my heart.
Ashton Genty going 7 to the New York Jets.
Lame.
Why the fuck would they take a running back?
Lame.
Don't know.
Next.
Don't know. Carolina taking Penn State tight end Tyler Warren at 8.
I think Tyler Warren's overrated, and that's really high for a tight end.
I don't. I think he's probably he's bigger than Lovelace.
Loveland.
From Michigan.
Loveland.
Yeah.
Loveland's
Bigger than him.
Loveland's a better pass blocking tight end. Like he's the
Well,
do-it-all.
I don't know about that. I mean, I actually think he's a better receiver.
Loveland is a better
Yeah,
receiver, but I
he's a
think
better
Loveland's
receiver,
like I think
But I
he's
don't
better.
think
at
he
pass
has the
blocking.
size for the next. He's going to have to put on about 25 pounds of muscle to play that position.
Regardless, eight's high for a tight end. Like we've
Yeah,
we've
it's
proven
high
that you
for any
can't take a
tight
tight
end.
end in the top unless it's Brock Bowers.
New Orleans at 9.
What
taking
position?
Edge.
The kid from Georgia.
Michael Williams from Georgia. 10, Chicago, Texas offensive tackle,
Cam Johnson
Calvin Banks.
or Calvin Banks.
San Francisco taking defensive tackle at 11,
What school?
Michigan,
Kenneth Grant at 11.
Mason Graham.
Oh, Mason. Oh, I didn't realize Mason Graham didn't. I'm sorry, he didn't go. in the top 10.
12, Dallas defensive tackle,
It's not Kenneth Grant, is it? What school?
Mississippi.
It's not Princely. No, it's not.
Come on,
I don't know.
Walter Nolan.
Walter Nolan. That's right. I knew that. Damn it.
Miami taking a linebacker at 13,
What school?
Georgia.
He's a D end at the end of the day. What's his name?
Jalen Walker.
Yeah, he's more of a D end.
A lot of defense so far.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of. Remember last year a
They're
defensive
real
player.
deep. This draft is real.
It's
deep,
real
like
deep on
you said, in
defense.
Yeah.
tackle,
Yep.
D tackle,
And
and edge
edge.
rusher.
And
There's
edge.
a ton of them.
So remember last year, Dallas Turner was the first defensive player, is like 15 or 16.
Yeah.
It's going to be the opposite this year. There's going to be a major run on defense in the first 15 minutes.
The Colts taking an offensive lineman,
What school?
Missouri.
I don't know his name.
Armand Mibu. Mimbu.
Now that kid there, either he's going to go there or he's going to fall.
He's like 6'5", 320.
Yeah,
something
but
like
they
that.
said he might be better at center than actually playing tackle. They think he's better on the inside than playing tackle.
And if he falls, you would love the Lions to take him.
I would. Why not?
Atlanta at 15. I know you like this guy. Edge rusher.
From what school?
Marshall.
Oh yeah, Green.
Yeah,
Mike Green.
Mike Green.
So this is the problem with Mike Green because he's a Lion. Mike Green is as good as a Lion in my opinion. His Senior Bowl was so good, and his season tape was so
gonna
good.
Go up. He's going to go.
He's a top 20 pick. Like a team is going to look at him and see they're going to see Chop Robinson, who was raw last year. It's the reason he
Right.
fell was he was raw. But look what happened as the season went on. Once you start developing those pro style traits, like he was very good. Chop Robinson was very good for
Toward the end of the
Broncos.
year, he came on. Actually, had a pretty decent season. But I think that I don't know if you've seen the clip, but him
Mike Green.
getting underneath the tackle, one of the higher rated tackles in the draft, got put on his back
Yep.
because he got up underneath him. and put
He
him on his
won.
back.
He won every rep last week. He won every single rep he had.
So through the first 15 picks, we have 9 defensive players off the board.
I believe it.
16
And-
Arizona.
And real quick, this is a really good wide receiver draft too. By the way, like there's 4 top 20 wide receivers.
Arizona's taking a receiver.
Who's Arizona taking? What
Arizona's
position?
not taking a receiver.
What position?
Offensive line.
What school?
Alabama.
I can't remember his name.
Tyler Booker.
Yeah, Booker. The guard. No,
Guard.
the guard. Yeah.
He's a monster.
Yeah.
Cincinnati.
What position?
Wide receiver.
Or taking that
What
fucking
school?
kid from Arizona State.
Is it Arizona or is it Missouri? Which school?
Arizona.
Tataroa
Taking that big
McMillan.
motherfucker.
Who Tataroa McMillan is better than every receiver in this past draft. On paper, pre-draft, he wouldn't have went over Marvin Harrison and he wouldn't have went over Malik Neighbors, but he was better than every other receiver that went in the first round of this last draft. And there were some good receivers in this last draft. That's how good McMillan is.
At 18, it's Seattle.
What position?
Wide receiver.
What school?
Missouri.
Luther Burden, who's also very good.
19, Tampa Bay taking edge rusher.
How would Seattle take a receiver for the third time in 4? They're gonna trade. They're gonna trade Metcalf. Metcalf will get traded this
What
summer.
this says, the quick synopsis, is that the team plans to part ways with Tyler Lockett.
Whatever. That's one.
Well, if that's the scenario, then you could see him drafting receivers.
I guess Luther Burden is really good though. He's like Kelvin Johnson. He gets up there. He's long on the field, runs a hell of a post route. He's one of those I'm gonna throw it up there and see if he's there type guys. So
Tampa at 19 taking an edge rusher.
what school?
Texas A&M.
Is it Scholarton?
Yep. Denver, and this for me just feels like the most. It just fits.
Colston Loveland?
Yeah.
Yeah. They need a tight end. If they end up with either Loveland or the Penn State kid, they'll be in really good shape. Tyler
Pittsburgh,
Warren would thrive there. What position? For
wide
Pittsburgh?
receiver.
What
Taking
school?
that kid from Ohio State.
No, they're not.
What school?
Texas.
Shoot, what's his name?
Matthew Golden.
Yeah, Golden. Texas has 2 top 60 receivers in this draft. Probably.
Okay, now a name that you've said already at 22, the Chargers,
What position?
defensive tackle.
Kenneth Grant.
Yep,
Harbaugh.
Harbaugh. 23, Green Bay, edge rusher.
Is it Texas A&M?
Yes, it is.
The other, I can't remember his name.
Shamar Stewart.
They have Shamar Stewart, and then there's one with a really similar Shamar something. They have
He already went. Nick the Skirt.
not Scourton. No, they have another Shamar, another guy that has a
It's
similar name. It's a
There's two
D line.
Shamars on the same.
A&M has 3 top 40 D linemen in this draft.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Minnesota,
What position?
corner.
Notre Dame.
No,
East Carolina.
no.
What school?
Texas.
Jade Barron.
Yes, and I believe he's the first.
He's not
Corner.
a corner. He's a safety.
He's
He's
the
a-
first.
he'll be a corner.
DB
He'll be a corner.
off the board. He is at 24.
He's not better than so the kid from Notre Dame is falling because of his size, but Siobhan Revel is this year's what's his face from Toledo that went to the Eagles. What's the rookie's name?
Quinton Mitchell.
Siobhan Revel is this year's Quinion Mitchell. He's going to be very good. Whoever gets him.
This one's very surprising to me. Houston at 25. What do you think's the position of need for Houston?
Not wide receiver, and they're going to be taking a wide
Yes,
receiver.
they are.
Is it Emeka Ibuka?
Yep. I mean, that would give you Diggs, who's going to come back. Nico Collins, Dell. I know I'm
Well,
forgetting
I
another.
mean, they're having issues with guys being able to stay on the field. I mean,
Dell isn't playing this year. He tore it
That
all.
is-
Everything died.
everything's dead.
But Nico Collins, you should hypothetically, Diggs should be back beginning of the year, no later than November, probably October.
I don't see them going receiver then.
Maybe. You're better off going in free agency to find a receiver
Right.
at that point. You know,
Yeah.
take a run at T. Higgins. You know what I'm saying?
The Rams at 26.
What position?
Offensive tackle.
What school?
Oregon.
Shoot, I can't remember his name. Go ahead.
Josh Connerly Jr.
He's
That's
the guy
that's
that
a reach.
fucking what's his name put on his back.
It's a reach. He's raw. Connerly's raw.
Yeah,
Like,
that's
he
the kid
he
that
needs a lot. Yeah,
Mike
that's
Green put on
that's
his
who Mike
back.
Green put on his back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
27 Baltimore. I'm very surprised by this one too.
What position?
Safety.
Go ahead.
Nick Emanwari from South Carolina.
South Carolina.
The Lions at number 28. Oh, you guys are
Don't tell me it's a guard.
you guys are gonna hate this.
It's not a guard, right?
No.
What position?
Corner.
Is it the kid from Notre Dame?
No.
What school?
Florida State.
This kid's rising right now, and he had a big week last week as well at the Senior Bowl. Go ahead.
Azarie Thomas, Florida State corner.
So he had a really good week last week, and I think he's one of those like quick risers right now. I just think that would be okay with it and can imagine it happening. I think they're gonna spend that pick on the trenches. I think they're gonna spend it on a D lineman. That's my guess. They're gonna play to the depth. I think if certain
but there's
guys
so much
slip,
depth there at D line, they could do this and then go to 60 and do what they have to do with D line.
they could.
Yeah.
They could.
But see,
I don't understand how Jack Sawyer is not a first-round pick. I don't understand how people didn't see what he did over the last month and are thinking he's not one of the best defensive linemen in football. Who am I, though, at the end of the day?
Washington, 29,
What position?
offensive tackle,
What school?
Ohio State.
Is this Jonah? No.
Josh Simmons.
Josh Simmons. He's the tackle or the guard?
He is the tackle.
Got it.
At 30, Buffalo,
What position?
wide receiver.
What school?
Ole Miss.
I can't remember his name.
Trey Harris.
Trey.
This one makes sense. 31, Philadelphia,
What position?
edge rusher.
Oh God, Georgia,
No,
Texas A&M.
no.
What school?
Tennessee.
I had no.
James Pierce Jr. from Tennessee. You've brought him up before. You said something about him the last time we talked about draft, and I remember that. And then they have
That's unless they get Myles Garrett, then they'll go somewhere else. Yeah.
and they have Kansas City taking Tyleek Williams, Ohio State defensive tackle.
It's Chris Jones's replacement.
Yeah, so that's our first mock draft coverage of the
So
year.
I guess if you're looking at it this way, I mean, you got to go with best player available. I don't think a corner at 28 is a bad choice. I really don't.
I wouldn't hate it pending how the
I wouldn't
offseason
hate
shakes
that
out.
either.
If you lose
but
Carlton Davis,
I mean,
maybe.
I got a weird feeling they're going to sign Carlton Davis.
I do too.
I think they should go best player available. I don't care what position it is, but I would go best player available.
I want an edge rusher because they haven't addressed edge rusher in the first round.
Trade up.
I actually think
since
there's
Hutchinson.
other positions that are more needed than that, to be honest.
Oh, because you
do.
need a high motor guy that get like not a set the edge run stopping guy.
Listen, if they got a
you need
chance,
someone
if
opposite
that
Hutchinson.
guard falls, you got to take him, man. They need guards so bad on their O line, dude.
I don't know.
I
another
their
scenario-
the middle of their offensive line needs fucking help, and people need to understand that. Ragnow is a shell of himself. Fucking Decker is a liability. You seen? I'm not trying to be an asshole, but I think if they went O line, I wouldn't hate that. I think they need to address it.
I wouldn't hate it,
High.
but I think Mahogany starts next year, number one. Number two,
Okay.
I think there's a real scenario where they buy Glasgow out, and then if they can get Zeitler on a deal, that they bring Zeitler in for another 1 or 2
I
year
got
deal
news
to
for
bridge
you.
until
I think Glasgow's gone regardless. To be honest with
I can
you,
see it.
and I think Zeitler's gone too.
Zeitler
so
would
you
leave on his
need-
own in free agency. Zeitler
Yeah.
would leave, yeah.
Can we discuss? I went back. This is from 2 days ago.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that is post Senior Bowl. This is Eric Edholm, also from NFL.com.
Do it.
I just want to talk about a couple ones. We don't have to go through it.
Mhm.
He has Abdul Carter going 1, Travis Hunter going 2, Cam Ward going to the Giants,
Okay,
Mason Graham to New England, the Tyler Warren.
I like. You know what? You're gonna think this is fucked up, but Mason Graham to New England is huge. You put him with Barrymore, that's a hell of a front right there in New England, huh?
with Vrabel as their coach.
Yeah.
Whoever gets Mason Graham is going to be very happy.
The Penn State tight end going to Jacksonville. Ashton Genty going 6 to the Raiders.
I can see
Dude,
that.
who's going to spend a top 10 pick on? Crazy. Go ahead though.
Shadur going 7 to the Jets.
That's interesting.
Aaron Glenn and Shadur. And
Uh,
Tanner
And
Engstrand.
Aaron Rodgers.
They have that Terriota McMillan guy going 9 to the Saints.
That's more like it.
Let me get some other notable ones here.
Just read them off.
Okay, so that's Jalen Walker going 8 to Carolina, Terriota McMillan going 9 to the Saints, Will Campbell going 10 to the Bears.
That makes sense, actually.
The Bears are going to
If
invest.
they were smart, they would do that.
The Bears are going to draft and invest in offensive line.
They need to.
They're going to do it.
The Armand Mimibu guy going 11 to San Francisco offensive line. Guard Tyler Booker going to Dallas.
That's big.
Calvin Banks going to Miami,
Okay.
which that one naturally I think makes sense. The safety from South Carolina, Nick Amonwari going to Indy. Shamar Stewart going to Atlanta.
Shamar. That's the other one.
Shamar Stewart going
Hold
to
on.
Atlanta.
What are these fucking guys' names?
Michael Williams going to Arizona.
Really? Okay.
Boston College edge Donovan Izuraku going to Cincinnati.
Okay.
Jihad Campbell, Alabama linebacker, going to Seattle. Matthew Golden going to Tampa Bay.
Let me tell you something about that Campbell kid. That Campbell kid is another Mecca Parsons.
You really think?
I'm going to tell you that right now because he could do it all. He could go inside, drop into coverage, or he can rush the passer. I think that's what sets him apart from the rest of the fucking linebackers in this class is that he could do all. He could do all
He's
of
got
it.
it all.
Yes.
Matthew Golden going 19 to Tampa, and that one to me makes a whole lot of sense because I don't think Chris Godwin is going to be back in Tampa next year. He had a devastating injury. He's at the end of his contract. I believe he's 30 years old. I just
That
feel
could
like
be.
that one could be.
Jalen McMillan and him and
Millen's coming on.
and Evans, you know.
Colston Loveland going to Denver again. Will Johnson going to Pittsburgh.
Another corner.
Like they need a corner.
Another corner.
Another corner.
No, because you look at it though, they did need corner last year.
Yeah, I mean, it got
Let's be honest. Jody Porter Jr. has not been good.
He was good this year.
He was okay. He was okay.
This year, I don't think he was bad.
Yeah.
This is the first time I've seen his name. Iowa running back Caleb Johnson going
He had a
22
good week.
to the Chargers.
So
had a
there's a
huge
rumor.
week.
There's a rumor that Ben Johnson has been doing like major homework on what's his name? What's his name?
Caleb Johnson.
Ben Johnson's been doing major homework on him and has been leveraging his Iowa people. Like, what's this kid like and all that. So don't be shocked if he pairs him with DeAndre Swift as like the David Montgomery with Swift as the like in that role in that capacity, if you will.
Green Bay taking Josh Simmons from Ohio State. Minnesota taking Derek Harmon, Oregon defensive tackle. Houston taking Gray Zabel, North Dakota State offensive
That
lineman.
kid shot up. He was the best guy at the Senior Bowl. That
Gray
Zabel kid. That Zabel kid. Did you hear about him?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they said he was the best lineman there. So
Donovan Jackson, Ohio State offensive lineman, going to the Rams. Jonah Saviliana, Arizona offensive
Tackle.
lineman, going to Baltimore. Yep. Mike Green going to Detroit.
Say less. If you guys see Mike Green, like he looks like Aiden Hutchinson. He looks like a smaller Aiden Hutchinson. His motor is just so insane. Like he's just constantly like spazzing out on the field. If you have two high motor guys that there's nothing you can do about, it would be quite a get.
How do you feel about that?
Yeah.
What do you mean, yeah?
I don't have an issue with it unless they're in the Myles Garrett sweepstakes for real. I think you would have to go with that.
What about Trey Hendrickson? What about a scenario where
I'm so good with that, dude.
what if there's a scenario where the Bengals completely botch everything, right? And they end up like or they don't and they have to pay out all this money. They end up paying Higgins and they end up paying Jamar Chase. You can't pay Hendrickson as well. So what if they take a flyer on Trey Hendrickson and you buy lower on Hendrickson, who led the league in sacks last year, by the way. You buy lower on Hendrickson and you get him and you pair like what if they can get Trey Hendrickson?
If you get Trey Hendrickson for what? For what?
Let's call it 2 seconds. But you have to sign him. Trey Hendrickson needs a contract. That's the problem. And he literally led the league in sacks.
Yeah, you don't want to be in the same predicament that the Jets were.
What do
where you trade for a guy who didn't have a fucking contract.
I don't think that would be the case with
Well,
Hendrickson would.
he's
they're
30.
just blowing
I don't
it with
think he
how
would
they're
take a ton of
handling it.
money. Correct.
I think they're just causing problems with how they're handling the Hendrick. Like they just blew it. Like they didn't know what they were doing. Like that with all their guys last year.
I mean, they have Sam Hubbard, and Hubbard's been their guy since he was drafted.
At 29,
Henderson, they picked him up in free agency. Well, I mean, we headed down to the Zadarius Smith role here.
no, I would rather have Trey Hendrickson than
I'm
Darius Smith.
asking you a question
I
though.
think Zadarius
He's
Smith's gonna get
29.
bought out. I think Zadarius Smith's going to get because there's cap implications to keeping him. I don't think unless they re-sign him to a cheaper deal. I think he's going to be a new league year cut. I think they're going to cut.
I would much rather have Trey Hendrickson than Zadarius Smith.
I would too, but I mean, if that's the case, then you just draft a guy and forget about it. You draft Mike Green and forget about it.
Washington taking James Pierce.
I don't have a problem with that.
Would you rather have Mike Green or James Pierce if you had the pick?
I think
In Detroit,
Pierce has probably played against better competition.
Mike Green for me. I go by the tape always. I love the tape.
Buffalo taking Michigan defensive tackle Kenneth Grant.
If Kenneth Grant's sitting there at 28, the Lions should run to the phone for Kenneth Grant. They should run, not walk.
How do you feel?
Well, I think Mason Graham's better than Kenneth.
Oh, 100%.
Well, yeah,
100%.
Mason Graham's not going to.
100%. But Kenneth
I
Grant.
mean, I don't know if Kenneth Grant was just here's the problem with those two. You don't know which one I think it's Mason Graham is the better player.
It's Mason Graham.
And I think it made it easier for Kenneth Grant for his numbers to get where they were.
Yeah, but what about next to Aleem McNeil and Aiden Hutchinson? Then his numbers should stay where they are.
Hopefully, you're hoping that's the case.
So Kenneth Grant is
that injury
athletic.
that McNeil's got, it's no fucking joke, dude.
Probably November.
I'm hoping this guy be ready by now. We don't even know if he'll be ready.
He's not going to be ready to start the year.
Yeah.
I doubt he will be ready to start the year. No, Kenneth Grant is very good. He's more athletic than Mason Graham. Kenneth Grant can run a sub 440 at 325 pounds. Like he's that.
Yeah, he's
a freak.
monster.
You know?
This is scary. Philadelphia at 31 taking Luther Burden.
Do they need a receiver? Jahan Dotson's not cutting it for them? Yeah, Luther Burden is very good.
If you had Devonta Smith, A.J. Brown, and Luther Burden.
Both of these receivers, Tedero, like Abuka, different story. I think he's more of a slot guy. He is first-round talent, but he's not as good as McMillan, and he's probably not as good as Luther Burden. Luther Burden's like, think a little bit more on the lines of Kelvin Johnson. Like he's streaky. Like he's a guy that gets down the field, you know? And I don't know if they have that. Like they have take the top off the defense guys, but Philly doesn't have the fuck it, let's see who's open down there type guys. And Luther Burden is that guy. Like he's going to be open down there. We'll throw the ball and see what happens.
And then at 32 to the Chiefs, they have that Ezra Thomas from Florida State.
The corner.
So those are that's mock draft coverage for this week before the Super Bowl. Nothing like talking a little mock draft before the Super Bowl.
That's what happens when you get bounced in the playoffs.
Also, the contract has come out for head coach Ben Johnson. 5-year, $65 million deal, which is $13 million per year.
My man's rich.
Couple of things. I want to discuss Justin Tucker real quick. A 9th woman now has come out and accused Justin Tucker of misconduct at massage parlors. This is not the first time we've heard this before.
At a massage parlor?
At various massage parlors around the Baltimore area. And tweets have surfaced from 2021 of employees from massage parlors talking about the fact that Justin Tucker had been banned from their establishment for some sort of misconduct. This is starting to get pretty shitty now.
We're only a few guys away from a Mount Rushmore.
Yeah. Justin Tucker might be making his way up to the Mount Rushmore scumbags.
Maybe.
Coming off of his worst career year, and now with all of this, do you think that he literally in one season went from the GOAT to now? Do you think this is the end for Justin Tucker?
Well, I don't know. They trying to cancel him?
Well,
I mean, these are allegations. They're not. Nothing's been.
But I'm saying the noise now, coupled with the fact that he has had his worst career year by far.
All right. So we got noise. Is there police reports? Is there actual fucking proof that this guy is a fucking weirdo or no? I mean, that's the thing. Anybody could throw fucking accusations out there. Is there actual legitimate shit behind it? Or no? Or is it just he said, she said bullshit?
I think there's some pretty damning.
I mean, if Deshaun Watson could buy his way out of it, I'm sure Justin Tucker can too.
We gotta let it play out. That's all I can tell you. The league has proven that they're not going to do anything about shit like this, so let it play out.
Yeah, they didn't do anything with Watson. What'd they do? Suspend him for 11 games?
Did they even do that?
Is that what he got?
What the league does is they wait until
the code of conduct thing.
Yeah, they wait until there's actually criminal charges before they do anything.
The NFL has come out and said that they have launched
an investigation.
Yeah. And Roger Goodell said he was, quote unquote, very surprised to hear the allegations. That is as far as we have gotten it so far. Did anybody watch the Pro Bowl?
No.
Did you?
No. I haven't watched Pro Bowl since it was in Hawaii.
All I know is that the NFC won the big flag football game that ended the Pro Bowl. They ended up winning it 76-63, and our
Hey,
very own.
What does that mean? 76 to say? What, are they playing basketball?
It's flag football.
Golf is out there.
What is
slinging
it?
Jared Goff was the Pro Bowl MVP.
Anyway,
Jared Goff won
yeah,
the MVP.
that's great. Great job, Jerry.
Jameer Gibbs had an interception.
What?
Jameer Gibbs had an interception.
Hey, that'll tell you how absolutely fucking stupid it was.
As did Jackson Smith and Jigba. He actually had a pick six.
Okay.
We've been through this before, but just come on. You got to do something better. For three people who love football the way that we do, to not even click it on. And I went on the website for the Pro Bowl yesterday just to see what time it was at, because I didn't even know. They had tickets on special for $19.95.
I've never understood
You could go to the
why
Pro Bowl for
they have
$20.
the Pro Bowl in between the fucking playoffs and the Super Bowl. I never understood that. I always thought it was at the end of the year.
They had a dodgeball game.
That's nice.
Brian Branch took a nut shot playing
What the
dodgeball.
fuck, dude. Yeah, he's probably hurt now.
Yeah, that was just bad.
Listen, the skills competition, they still have that now too.
It's
They bring
different.
that I used to love quarterback challenge. I don't know if you guys ever watch it.
I remember.
They do a good one now. There's
They do,
moving
yeah.
targets. It's good. And Goff won it, I think, too. Goff beat
Yeah,
Burrow.
44 points.
Yeah. Russell Wilson was there.
You might as well get that. He ain't gonna win anything else.
Should we talk a little Lions coaching carousel, Zolo?
Yeah.
Go ahead. Start it off.
Yeah. I mean, they promoted Kelvin Shepard, which I think we've discussed already, which I think was a good deal. They're not losing to Shea Townsend, it looks like. I'd love for them to bring in another voice for the DBs. They obviously brought in that Lacey gentleman to do the defensive line, which is cool. Their offensive staff is where it gets tricky. You lost Tanner Engstrand officially. Tanner Engstrand has left to become the offensive coordinator for the Jets with Aaron Glenn.
There you go.
You lost Ben Johnson. You lost Aaron Glenn, as mentioned before. You lost Terrell Williams, who's the D coordinator for the Patriots.
I was surprised by that one. I was very surprised by that one.
Steve Hyden, their tight ends coach, so they have an opening there, is going to become the Jets offensive line coach. JT Barrett is now the Bears quarterback coach. He was the assistant quarterbacks coach here. And then Antoine Randall obviously left. He got technically it's an upgrade to get assistant head coaching jobs, but the way it works essentially is you brought in John Morton, and then you also brought in you promoted Fraley to running game coordinator, and then you brought in David Shaw. They brought in David Shaw from Stanford as the passing.
Can we get a little background on John Morton?
Yeah, so he's been all over the place. He was here in 2022. And he was on staff, and they didn't want to lose him. He's older. He's from here. He's from Auburn Hills. He went to Western, but he's gonna have more of a passing influence to him. Like he's gonna open up screens in the pass. Think JMO and Gibbs out of the backfield a little bit more often, which I would like. Like I like screens. I'm big into bubble screens. I'm big into wheel routes, so I'm cool with it. But he was on the Raiders staff that went to the Super Bowl back in whatever it was, 2001 or 2002. Rich Gannon. So Rich Gannon was an MVP under John Morton. He was an offensive assistant. And then he, I believe, was with Jim Harbaugh at San Diego. He goes back to the Saints when Breeze first got there. He was with Carroll at USC, passing game coordinator, wide receivers coach.
That just burst my bubble.
He was with Harbaugh in San Francisco, went back to Sean Payton. His 1 year as the Jets offensive coordinator, people think it was the most functional offense the Jets had, which was in 2017, and that was with
Sanchez.
No, it was with Josh McCown.
Josh
Todd Bowles and
Josh McCown had a career year. I can't remember who the running back was, but then on top of that, Robbie Chosen, good old Robbie Anderson, and Jamison Crowder had like massive years. It was the Todd Bowles Jets.
The Todd Bowles
So
Jets,
he had some success there. Then he went and worked for the Raiders, came back home to work as a senior offensive assistant here. Dan Campbell didn't want to lose him, but he went with Sean Payton. He was the pass game coordinator for the last 2 years. Look what he did 2 years ago with Russ. Russ had a good year 2 years ago, and then Bo Nix. Bo Nix that was a lot of that was attributed to John Morton. So I think there's still going to be a drop off. I think there's still going to be a bit of a drop off. You're not going to see the trick plays, but they're going to run the ball.
I beg to differ that.
And
I don't think you're going to see a
That's
fucking
Dan
drop
Campbell.
off.
Well, yeah, at the end of the day, it's Dan Campbell's plays. When it's all said and done, those are Dan Campbell's plays. So,
how do we feel so far?
I think they still need a wide receivers coach, and they clearly need a tight ends coach. They almost signed the guy that went on to be Jacksonville's tight ends coach. They were sniffing around there, supposedly, but I think they need to bring in a sick wide receivers coach, like a really good name wide receivers coach that keeps these guys that can take them. Antoine Randall brought them really far, but let's take them to the next level. A former player that can come in and take them to the next level. That's what I'm looking
How
for.
about Calvin Johnson?
Yeah, Calvin Johnson. Golden Tate's a name that came to mind to me.
Golden Tate.
I'm excited about David Shaw, though. That flew under the radar. A lot of teams have been trying to grab him. He also did some really good stuff in Denver this year. I'm excited to see what David Shaw does for the receivers and for Goff. Like, I think he could be the perfect pass game coordinator, and it's exciting.
Tate floats around Ford Field a lot. He's at a lot.
He's
of
there,
games.
yeah. He calls the radio. He calls the game, he calls the games on TV in the preseason, Bruce.
Right. But I'm just saying, I mean, there's a random game in the middle of the season, and he's walking up my sections. And what the hell? It's Golden Tate.
Fun fact on David Shaw, by the way, before he moved back to California, he went to Rochester Adams and played quarterback there.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Learn something new every day.
So their offense, and then obviously John Morton, he's from here as well. He's from Auburn Hills. So
Another piece of news.
So they know the pain.
yeah,
They know the pain. You got to know the pain to do anything about it. Got to know the pain.
Couple things today, because Goodell did his pre-Super Bowl press conference today. One thing he said that the NFL is exploring establishing a professional co-ed flag football league.
What the fuck are we doing here, dude? A what?
A professional co-ed flag football league.
That's so stupid, dude. You need to stop.
The
Stop with the gimmicks.
The other thing he said is that there is no aspect of the NFL that shows any sort of favoritism towards the Chiefs. It's a ridiculous theory for anyone who may take that seriously.
Of course, he could put that in his pipe and smoke it.
He also said Tom Brady has conversations with him, quote unquote, frequently to make sure he's balancing his owner and broadcaster responsibilities appropriately, and that Roger Goodell seems nothing wrong with it going forward.
God damn it. Really? You're going to have more of this fucking clown on there? Jesus Christ.
I don't think he's that bad.
Dude,
No, he's pretty good.
listen, he's as good as
He's
Tony
gotten a
Romo.
lot better.
Brady.
I think
He's gotten
Yes.
better.
Brady cooked in the playoffs.
Yes. And
could.
listen to me, there's no way you could sit here and tell me he is not better than Tony Romo.
He's the
Tony
same
Romo,
shit.
He's not better than Greg Olson.
he's not better than Greg Olson.
Greg
but
Olson's
Tony
better than
Romo's
both
a
of those
complete
guys.
boob.
He has
sorry?
potential.
Tony Romo's a complete boob.
Listen, I would rather listen to Chris
blown.
Collinsworth than any of these guys.
Oh,
No,
dude,
no.
get
They
out of
beat
here,
my
dude.
fucking head against this wall right here.
He also said today that he does believe the NFL will eventually have an international franchise, and if that happens,
Shocked it hasn't happened yet.
they would plan an